Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem HaKadosh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders, the GMS, or the true leaders of Israel today, and salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai. And the Lord's of the chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as we're the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalio, and this video is a prophecy update. World War III is a part of Bible prophecy, and we have some major players that will be partaking in the prophecy of World War III. So firstly, in the scriptures, Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14, the second woe is past, talking about World War II. And behold, the third woe cometh quickly, which is talking about World War III. Alright, so World War III is in the scriptures, it's going to happen. Alright, so it's also going to happen in this lifetime. This is it, man. Alright, and while we're here, in these last days, in which the scriptures say, in the last days, perilous time shall come. All right, we're going to be witnessing the development of these major players that are going to be partaking in World War III. All right, we're living through it, right? And the major players are America, which is Babylon the Great. You have NATO, which is the beast that the whore is riding. The whore is America. And then you have the 10 horns, which is the European Union. Okay, they are an alliance together, plus the state of Israel, the Ish people. All right, they are a part of that alliance, and those people, the state of Israel, has been deemed an unofficial member of NATO. So they are aligned together. And then on the other end, you have Russia and Russia's allies, which include those of the BRICS nations, BRICS, and Russia's one of Russia's most prominent, if not Russia's most prominent ally, is Iran. Okay, so that's why you see right now in the world, when you look about the situation between the countries, these world superpowers, that these same ones that have named have been at the forefront of it and have contention with one another. Okay, but there are some things that are going to be happening, because even though right now America's allies are NATO and the EU, something is going to happen along the way where they are going to turn against America and they're going to destroy her. Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16 says, "And the 10 horns, which is that European Union, which thou sawest upon the beast, which is NATO, these shall hate the whore, which is America, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." So America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire, right? And America's enemies are going to shoot missiles at her, Russia and Russia's allies, and also America's, at that point they won't be allies, but they're allies right now, so her allies are going to turn against her, right? NATO and the EU. Okay, so we're going to be witnessing that, and we've been witnessing that. Okay, but Bible prophecy is speaking louder than ever, as we are in these final days. I mean, day by day goes by, we're inching closer to the kingdom, we're inching closer to these prophecies being fulfilled. So there's a prophecy of Ezekiel chapter 38, right? And Ezekiel chapter 38 talks about Russia and her allies and what Russia is going to be doing, etc. So let's read it. Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 2, "Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him." So this is talking about the Russians as they dwell in that land today that Gog and Magog once dwelt. and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. So the Lord is against Russia because, even though Russia is bucking horns with America, right? Russia is still an Edomite power, which the Edomites are the so-called white people, and this is their kingdom, right? And the Edomites are the wicked. So the Lord is against Russia. And I'll turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I'll bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. So Yahweh Shemishai is going to put a spirit upon Russia to go to war. Even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So Russia is going to be going to war with a great company, which are its allies. It mentions Persia, which Persia is known as today as Iran. So the Persians, they're now known as the Iranians, okay? And the Lord lists them first. And then when you look at what's going on in the world, you can clearly see, man, the tension, the focus that the enemies of Russia and Iran, how there's such a focus on Iran, right? There's a reason, because Iran has a prominent place in this whole prophecy, being Russia's main number one ally. That's how I see it, with how observing it. And then the scriptures mention Persia first, right, which is Iran. Then it mentions Ethiopia and Libya, and this is the African countries, right? With them, all of them with shield and helmet, okay? Then it mentions another ally here, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. So now this scripture, Ezekiel 38 and verse 6, is talking about a very interesting ally. And the ally it's talking about is Turkey, as it's the same thing in verse 2. Turkey is in that land now, okay, where Gomer and Togarmah once dwelt. Okay, so it's referring to Turkey. Now, one may be wondering, well, okay, isn't Turkey a part of NATO? Yes, Turkey is a part of NATO, and that's why, it's quite interesting, okay? But what this is saying is that Turkey is going to side with Russia and her allies, which means that Turkey is going to be with Russia and Iran and those African countries and the rest of BRICS, right, when they go to war. So that means that in the interim, we're going to be seeing the coming together of Russia and Turkey. And we're also going to be seeing things happen between Turkey and her current allies, NATO, the EU, and America, where things are not going smoothly for Turkey. And I've been observing it for these years, and there have been many instances that have come up regarding Turkey and regarding her allies too. One of the stances that Turkey has made very clear is that, the situation with the state of Israel, they're against it. And the thing is that the state of Israel is really America's top ally. America is set for a defense for the state of Israel. So that relationship right now between Turkey and her current allies is deteriorating. And so I have this article here from RT. Putin and Erdogan discuss Ukraine and Syria. The presidents discussed holding a third round of negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv during a phone conversation. And so over the years, all right, you can see the deteriorating relationship between Turkey and her allies, and Turkey moving more towards Russia, as the scriptures let us know. And it is something to be discussed. It is a prominent situation because Yahweh Shemishai mentioned this so specifically in Ezekiel 38 and verse 6 about Turkey being an ally to Russia. You see? So we're going to witness it, and we're literally witnessing it right now. Okay? Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke to his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan by phone The leaders discussed the Ukrainian conflict as well as the recent escalation in Syria, according to a statement published by the Kremlin on Friday. So their relationship is building. You see, according to the statement, Putin and Erdogan touched on the possibility of holding a third round of Russia-Ukraine negotiations in Istanbul. The sides met for 2 rounds of direct talks in Turkey earlier this year, rebooting discussions that Kyiv had unilaterally abandoned in 2022 to pursue military victory with Western assistance. At their most recent meeting in June, the negotiators exchanged draft proposals outlining visions for a potential peace deal and agreed on further prisoner exchanges. Moscow has since confirmed its readiness to continue the talks. So their relationship is quite amicable and it's building. Okay? And it's just going to get to the point where eventually, because Turkey does not like what the state of Israel is doing, but America is not going to side with Turkey. You know what I'm saying? They are going to stay with the state of Israel. Okay, so it's something that is just going to be continuously observed as to the breaking down of this relationship between Turkey and her allies, and how Turkey is moving to, gradually moving towards being that ally with Russia and her allies. Okay, during the conversation, Putin reaffirmed his principled stance in favor of seeking a political and diplomatic statement to the Ukrainian conflict and thanked Erdogan for his willingness to facilitate direct negotiations. According to Erdogan's administration, the Turkish president stressed that his country will continue to host talks in Istanbul once suitable dates are determined for parties. Okay, the presidents also discussed the violent clashes between government forces and the Druze ethnic minority that have been ongoing in the Syrian city of Sweden for several days. The Israeli military has conducted airstrikes on southern Syria and Damascus, allegedly in a bid to protect the Jewish community. And Damascus been getting hit, but the scriptures say Damascus shall be a ruinous heap. Okay, both Putin and Erdogan expressed concern over the escalation and stressed the importance of stabilizing the situation through dialogue as soon as possible, according to Kremlin. Erdogan also pointed out that by conducting the airstrikes, Israel was violating Syria's sovereignty. So there it is, right? That right there shows, another instance once again of Turkey's position against what the state of Israel is doing. But given that Turkey is a part of NATO, Turkey really should, you know what I'm saying? Since they're allies, they would all be of one mind working together. But Turkey's mind is elsewhere and aligning with Russia. And this is a part of Bible prophecy. It is happening. Okay? So when you go back to Ezekiel 38 and verse 7, it says, "Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." So Russia is a guard unto its allies. Okay? And yeah, man, that's what it is. I have some others here. Just the escalation of it all. Brazil slams NATO's Russia sanctions threats. So Brazil is a part of BRICS, right? A founding member of BRICS. As it says, Brazil is a founding member of BRICS, formed in 2006 with Russia, India, and China. See? The economic bloc has since expanded to include South Africa, Egypt, Iran, Ethiopia, the United Arab Emirates, and Indonesia, right? So even here it's showing you Bible prophecy, okay? The alliance of Russia, okay? Russia, then it mentions Iran is a part of it, right? Here in Ezekiel chapter 38, right? Persia, then it mentions Ethiopia and Libya. Now it says here, economic bloc has since expanded to include South Africa, Egypt, and Ethiopia. So these are those African countries, man. You see? So it's all happening in real time. Bible prophecy is speaking louder than ever in these final days of Esau's rulership. Okay, but here, because of Brazil's alliance with Russia and the BRICS nations, Brazil feels more emboldened, right, to speak against NATO, which is an Edomite superpower, right? But they know the alliance that they have, so they're not really backing down when it is that Esau, goes towards them in a certain kind of way, because, they have the might of Esau on their side in the form of Russia, which goes to show you the fragmentation of Esau's kingdom, where you have them against each other. And the scriptures say it, man, that if Satan be divided against himself, he cannot stand, but at an end. So their kingdom is not in unison. The Edomites are not in unison. You have one side of the Edomites with America, NATO, and the EU, and the state of Israel. And then we know Bible prophecy says that NATO and the EU are going to help in the destruction in America. So that relationship is going to break apart, But then even now, looking at it, you have on the other end Russia, which is another Edomite power. And then Russia is enlisting the help of the heathen to bolster its position to fight against America and her allies. You see, so Esau's kingdom is a kingdom that is it's basically already finished. All right. Then as well here, Trump issues new threat to BRICS. Russia has said the group is not a rival to the US, but attempts at intimidation won't be tolerated. And this is just America doing its thing because, America is the hammer of the earth, right? America is the hammer of the earth. And so, Esau is in rulership, and Esau does his thing where he uses intimidation and fear and violence and the sword. But Russia is powerful, and it too is an Edomite power, and it has enlisted the help of the heathen. Okay, so Russia is a part of BRICS too. So it's a threat against Russia, it's a threat against Iran, Brazil, South Africa, the whole of them. Okay. So this is all just building up to heading towards World War III, man. And the scriptures say, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Wake up the mighty men. Right? Let the weak say, I am strong. And that is what is happening, man. And then here, Iran agrees to resume nuclear talks with European states, which, this is just fluff, because we know that Bible prophecy states that war is going to happen. And there's going to be death, destruction by way of thermonuclear fire. And then you know what? This image is quite interesting. Spiritual even. All right, because the scriptures talk about the arrows, right? Let me see. I think in Jeremiah, let me see if I can get it in 50. The one that I'm looking for. It talks about shall set their arrows. There, yeah. Jeremiah 15 verse 9, for lo, I'll raise and cause to come up against Babylon, which is America, an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. Right? Arrows. Okay. Well, an assembly of, right? From thence she shall be taken, their arrows shall be as a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. So the scriptures say arrows, but those arrows are actually those ICBM missiles. You see what I'm saying? But people that don't have the knowledge, they would read it and they literally think it's like, arrows, but it's actually talking about the missiles. So you have this image here of this man, right, with a bow and arrow, and then you have missiles in the background. You know what I'm saying? You see? Poster on a building in Tehran just weeks after ceasefire with the state of Israel was reached. Tehran, Iran, July 15, 2025. Right? The scriptures also talk about he that bendeth the bow. Right? Let me see if I can get that. Bendeth. Jeremiah 51 and verse 1. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon, which is a miracle, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind, which the destroying wind is going to be by way of the thermonuclear destruction. And will send unto Babylon, which is America, fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow. Right. But the archers are going to be these countries, and the bows are going to be the device used to launch the missiles, which are likened unto arrows in the scriptures. And against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. Right? America is going to be wiped out, man. Okay. And then even here it says, verse 7, Babylon, which is America, hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And they are mad. All right. They have drunken, you know, of her wine. And, you know, they have followed her ways and had to listen to what she told them to do, and they're mad. All right, so they're ready to go to war, and war is in the air. All right, but before this World War III can reach its end, the mark of the beast prophecy has to be fulfilled, which is that microchip. With that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem Yeshai, B'Shem Kodesh, Shalom.